The wait is over. F1 2021 is finally out, beating Verstappen, Hamilton, Mick Schumacher, and all those incredible tracks. The hype for the new title is real, but is the game worth the money? Hi, I'm Gareth, joining you from the official Overtake YouTube channel. Today we'll be taking a look at what's changed in F1 21. Is the new story mode as awesome as anticipated? And what actually is Jeff's last name?
Okay, here we go.
That and much more after the intro. F1 2021 is finally out now, despite the actual racing series being in full swing since the end of March. This new iteration in the franchise once again brings all the new cars and drivers from the 2021 lineup. But if you're missing some tracks right now, the new circuits Imola, Portimao, and the Jeddah Street Circuit will arrive at a later date with an already planned post-launch DLC. We're not quite sure when this one will be hitting the shelves, but honestly, all of the tracks should be ready by now. There's only 3 new circuits, they're not laser scanned, and 2 of them should have been in the game already last year. Not ideal, but in return we do get a brand new story mode Breaking Point, which builds the centerpiece of F1 21. But how did it turn out? The story starts with the F2 in 2019, and a fresh face, Aiden Jackson. A young talented British lad that wants to become a racing legend in F1. After fighting for the F2 title, we choose a team we want to join for the 2020 season from a limited selection. The story is told in many layers via beautiful cutscenes, emails, social feeds, and phone calls. We even spotted Dave Gaming in here, our hardware legend himself.
Feels good to be back.
Hello, it's about time he returned to the channel. If you don't want to miss that, subscribe and ring the bell. But let's get back to Breaking Point. Regarding the plot, we don't want to spoil too much, but get ready for a lot of drama that already starts in your very first F1 race. All that's missing is for the characters to start singing to make the perfect musical.
Suddenly, the world I used to know, I see it differently.
Okay, maybe that's a bit much, because overall the storyline is really engaging, well written for the most part, and comes with interesting characters. We even learn Team Radio voice Jeff's last name, which is actually Nelson.
Great maneuver. You made it look easy.
Who would have thought? The best thing about Breaking Point isn't the story anyway, but those photorealistic cutscenes on track. Holy smokes, look at this! If those shots don't take your breath away, I don't know what will. Sadly, all of the usual animations after or before a race don't come close to the quality of the cutscenes. Also, we were expecting this, but nevertheless, it still came as a letdown. None of the drivers or team managers are voiced in the game. They do appear in written emails and cutscenes, but don't have one line of dialogue. Not a game breaker, but it leads to awkward situations where Esteban Ocon just sits there smiling, looking like he just came out of the House of Wax. Oh, scary. But as we mentioned before, we weren't expecting any voiceovers from the actual F1 stars. But when you take a look at how FIFA did this, the F1 story mode pales in comparison. But all in all, the story mode is an enrichment for the F1 franchise, and it breaks up the monotonous grinding of seasons in the career mode. Also, it's a superb starting point for a newcomer to get into F1 games, and makes the onboarding so much easier. Next up, let's talk about graphics and gameplay. Hand me the sticks. Thank you, shall we? We tested F1 2021 on PC and PS5, and like both versions a lot. Visually, it looks amazing and runs buttery smooth with no hiccups whatsoever in a high frame rate. On PS5, you can choose between the performance mode that runs in 1440p with 120 FPS, or the graphics mode with 4K 60. On PC, we didn't have any issues either, with the game running in its highest ultra settings on a mid-range PC. So, performance-wise, Codemasters did everything right and polished F1 2021 and their current engine to the max. Kudos. On the other hand, there are still some bugs we noticed. The AI stick to the racing line far too persistently, cars not driving out for qualifying in the career mode, and the usual internet disconnect out of thin air. Of course, these can all be fixed with further updates, but we thought that you should know that not everything is quite as polished as it could be. And how about the gameplay? Is it fun? Well, yeah, we think so. Don't expect a revolution in car handling though. Playing with a gamepad or the steering wheel is more or less the same as in the last couple of years. But is that a bad thing? We don't believe so. Yes, F1 2021 is still not a simulation, doesn't support VR, and the force feedback still has nothing to do with driving a real Formula car. But if you are willing to get involved in the gameplay, it can be surprisingly fun. We tested with the Fanatec CSL Elite, and with some fine-tuning, really liked how the game feels. Maybe a little bit too understeery, but you can work around that. Okay, so we've talked about the graphics, the gameplay, and the story mode, but F1 2021 has a lot more to offer. Of course, the career mode is also back for good. Not all that much has changed compared to F1 2020, but as you say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The small changes that have been made look good, like the new R&D department and the further improved presentation. So, if you liked the career mode last year, you'll probably like this one too. You can create a new team, join an existing one, or play online with a friend, which is just awesome. Who are you playing with and for which team? Let us know in the comments. Also back is the Podium Pass and in-game purchases. So, if you're planning on buying the game for your kids, make sure they don't have access to any payment methods, or they might purchase some of those fat treasure chests which will unlock some new helmets, suits, liveries, or other stuff. We found it a pity that you're constantly reminded of the Podium Pass when you start the game or finish a race, but hey, it's F1 and cash is king. So, is the new F1 worth the money? We think so. If you're searching for a light-hearted F1 game with all the popular faces, new cars, a fun story mode, a sophisticated career mode, and much more, you surely can't go wrong with this. Yes, there are still some bugs, the ubiquitous Podium Pass is still annoying, and the handling isn't quite on par with a true sim, but at this moment in time, we reckon there's no better single-player racing game out there that gives you such a sheer amount of well-thought-out content. How did you like the new F1 game? Let us know in the comments down below, and if you want to check out what Theo Masante thinks about the game, take a look at our latest Nitro Nights episode, and there's something for you just underneath. That's it for today, thanks for having me, and until next time, cheers.